I still think that's far too posh. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Good afternoon. I'm on old pod mode at the moment. Thank you all so much for joining us. Welcome to the Table Topping Podcast, all the one-stop shops place for all your table topping needs. So if you want to know, if you're suffering from vertigo, if you're worried about, getting a cricky in your neck from looking down at all those plebs beneath us, then we're here to answer and look after you. In the top right-hand corner, in no particular order, Bruce has got his 93-94 shirt out, which looked very much like Maidenhead's home shirt last Saturday. How is everything your end, Bruce?
It's very, it's good, mate. Thank you. I've recovered from last night's overindulgence. The game didn't finish at 4:45. We went in the bar after and ended up in Cleethorpes on karaoke. It was.
Hang on. Cleethorpes does karaoke. Where does it do karaoke?
Oh, they still do karaoke in the. I can't even think of the name. Give me a minute. I had far too much to drink last night. I'm good though, thank you. Talk amongst yourselves a second. I'll tell you where I did karaoke.
Because I remember there used to be a taxi that you used to get in Cleethorpes and Grimsby that used to take you around, and it was essentially a karaoke bar in the back of the cab. I think the guy passed away recently, but I remember that being you used to have to ring up and ask specifically for that taxi, and they would come to you, and they'd have like strobe lighting in the back, and you'd sing "Wannabe" on the way to Maggie's from Car Lane because I'm really lazy.
Yeah. That's the one. That's one. I should know this. I've been in there loads of times.
Bruce, are you okay?
I'm flagging today. I'm going out for a carving in a bit though. So I'll be all right then.
Grimsby has obviously more fish and chip shops per head than anywhere else in the country, but I think it also has more carveries per head as well than anywhere else in the country, especially on a Sunday. I can probably roll off 6 off the top of my head. David Welsh is just giving you a thumbs up, Bruce. I assume just to hang on and keep going. Henry, you have got an exceptionally underwhelming background. How is everything? You're not sort of on the floor next to a radiator or something, are you?
No, not quite. No, I'm still drying out from Tuesday night though, Alex, where your curse of seeing our worst performances of the season lives on strongly.
It really does. Hang on, you've done the same, haven't you?
No, I've seen 2 wins. Thank you very much.
Oh, god damn it. I'm going on Saturday. Scott has recovered. I mean, do you struggle with your voice the day after? Because you're the one that talks through the entirety of the game.
It's not too bad actually today. Yeah, it's fine. I mean, yesterday was just crazy. Honestly, I could not have asked for a better game. I was called up on Tuesday night to do the game, and I said yes, obviously. And if Carlsberg did commentaries yesterday was absolutely perfect for me. It was a dream, and I really could not believe at half time what the scoreline was, and it just makes my life so much easier. Having listened back to the commentary of the goals, my voice is quite high pitched at times. I didn't realise I could get to the BG style of, but I was that excited, guys. It was mental. So yeah, today I'm enjoying it. I couldn't have a beer yesterday. So today is my time. I'm just in Leeds. I'm in the Nation of Shopkeepers in Leeds at the minute. That's where I am.
Sorry, I'm trying to download something at the same time. Yeah, I mean, it must be. You can't go anywhere else. It's sort of 5-0, 2 goals within sort of 10 seconds of one another in stoppage time. You have to keep going, don't you? I mean, at some point you'd have been sounding like someone had kicked you very hard in the balls, did you not?
Yeah, I think it did feel like that at the time, and it was at 5-0 at half time. I thought, shit, this could be record breaking, and I did look beforehand what the record score was, because you do for every game as part of the prep, and I think it's 8-0 against Tranmere in the 20s, and because it did really honestly look like that. Dover, whoever, Bruce will testify. Dover were really poor at the back, and it was really easy pickings at times. And I couldn't believe how easy it was. And yet the first quarter of an hour, Dover were the best side.
They were. I was just going to say that for the first sort of 20 minutes, they were definitely the best side. Yeah,
I've got a bone of contention though, because 8-0 is the biggest gap, but we beat Darwin 9-2 in 1899. So which is the bigger win?
Well, I think a lot of records, Alex, they always mention about post-war. I think post-war is always the thing with records. I don't know why. I'm not sure why, but post-war is always the thing that they go with.
Yeah, but that was 1925 when we beat Tranmere.
Very good point.
Do you mean post
World War One?
Fine. That's no problem. Richard Young says the Carvery spots have hugely dropped over the years. No hate and no partying. I assume the Jug and Bottle is up for sale as well for $500,000.
That's where I'm going.
Which is slightly sobering that the Jug and Bottle is about the same price as our house.
Jug and Bottle's been the same for about 10 years.
No.
Not to brag.
What's this? Oh yeah, it is no way a brag. Don't worry about it. I don't see any of that.
Alex, couple of bits, mate. I went to Teddy's. That's where I was doing karaoke, but I didn't actually do it. But I was in there singing along. We were allowed to. The landlady's she doesn't like football singing and chanting very much, but we were allowed to chant away until the karaoke started at 8:00. So we had some fun, and I actually did some. It's a shame Tom's not here yet. I did some research. When was the last time we were 5-0 up in a game at half time?
Oh, I know this, Bruce. I was told yesterday by our former press officer at the club.
Well, I thought
originally... Noche.
Is that him?
I mean, it's rumoured to be.
Okay.
I mean, if it's him, it certainly writes better than any of the press releases he ever sent out.
So, what are you going to say, Bruce?
I was going to say, my mind first went back to not my mind because I wasn't there, but I thought when we beat Scunny 7-1 at home, but actually I think it was at home to Stockport in 2011 when we won 7-0. We were 5-0 up at half time. Michael Coulson opened the scoring, actually very similar really, because we didn't score until 18 minutes in, and then we had goals for Liam Hearn 22, Anthony Elding 32. Jamie Green, 35, 1, 2, 3, 4, and Liam Hearn in the last minute of the half.
Jamie Green, town legend. Yes. That was the game I was told. It was 5-0 at half time as well.
Oh, well, we might be right between us then. That's good.
Well, I didn't get the stat. The former press officer Dale did.
Oh, before we get on to the game as well, Alex, can I just mention? I thought yesterday we got down there about 1:30, and we went in the fan zone, and the weather. Scottle, you've all seen pictures. It was. I don't know what it was like on Tuesday, but it wasn't quite as bad as Tuesday, I don't think. But it was not very pleasant.
We will have to have a word about Tuesdays in a bit.
I'm worried about next Tuesday.
Tuesday, Bruce. Like honestly, it was like being stood in a shower for 45 minutes. Like
it was biblical.
It was. Never experienced anything. I squelched back to the car. Like walked through my shoes.
I did watch a game. I did watch the game on someone's phone, streamed on Facebook, and not only did he keep filming throughout, despite the microphone going a bit funny as it got puddles in it, he kept his phone out all game, which I thought was absolutely was a bit crazy. But yes, I did see.
He's never getting his insurance back on that thing.
I did see the conditions. Wrong, is he? Well, Andy Carr was saying when he got back to the hotel, he got that little message on his screen, and he hadn't even had his phone out. He'd been in his pocket all game, and he said that got that message: your phone's too wet, you can't charge it at the minute. But yeah, we went to the fan zone, and Jason had tweeted before the game. So this is a side story, but he tweeted that they were going to go in, him and Andrew, and everyone to say hello. Well, we were in there, and the rain came down, and I don't think you've not been to a home game, Henry. You've been in there, haven't you?
Yeah.
Anyway, basically the only shelter at the moment is the half cut out container unit, and and then there was a bit of tarpaulin draped across across the front, and it was underneath that the wind was gusting, and it was basically you were all right, and then the tarpaulin would just get caught by a gust of wind, and it would go sort of probably 4 or 5 feet up in the air in the middle. and then you knew that what was coming was it was going to come down, and when it came down, it was like a sponge had just been wrung out on everybody. It was interesting, but Jason stuck to his word, and they came in and got wet with us. But it was unreal how many people were quite happily stood out in the fan zone in the rain with a pint of Docks and some of the nice food. So yeah, the fan zone. I was concerned about how it might go during the more sort of the not such good weather, but it was as busy as ever.
The singer was good, Bruce. Though I could hear him from the main stand before the game.
Yeah, it was good. A bit of James and a bit of all sorts. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, a bit of Britpop
good
stuff. And so, because I've not been in the fan zone bit yet, is it all kind of still temporary? Or it feels temporary?
It feels they're still working on it. There's still when you first went in early in the start of the season, the outside wall, basically the club's exterior walls, the breeze block walls were still plain, but they've got some nice artwork on them now and some prints. It's definitely work in progress still, but it's our work in progress, and it's just nice. I like it in there, just people chatting about just chatting town, and they didn't. Well, once the imp had gone, I mean, I was never an imp regular, and it's always been a bit of a squeeze in the BPH. I just there was never really anywhere for fans to sort of go and chat before the game and after the game, and I think that's really good, and it's made a massive difference to my matchday experience.
Now we've got a £4.5 million bridge from the railway. Surely it's going to be a doddle to get over from Clee, isn't it? The world's biggest railway bridge. Sorry, what were you going to say, Henry? Mine was pointless.
No, just that I agree with Bruce, and I wouldn't say it feels temporary. It feels, well, I wouldn't say unfinished. Like they definitely improved it between visits, and like it's encouraging to hear Bruce say, even though it was pissing it down, it was still very busy. I think just shows the demand for sort of a proper area to meet before and after a game for a drink. And just, you're thinking sort of medium to long term, there must be an indoor option that needs to be thought about, really, I think.
Well, sorry, we had our obviously the Jason and Andrew came on the podcast and said there's no point in talking about relocating the ground, doing anything until we fill Blundell Park. When does that conversation have to be reopened?
I was surprised we didn't hit 6,000 yesterday.
We sold 6,000, but there was just obviously some season ticket holders, I guess, just didn't come.
Yeah, guilty.
Yeah, I think if you have 3,000 season ticket holders, there must be, it sounds a high number, but there must be 100 to 150 maybe that don't go every game. On different games, people have got reasons for not going. It's still quite a small percentage of your 3,000, isn't it?
And it's one of the reasons why I'm so keen on having the Osmond open, far too keen, some would say, is that you can get a decent seat. I was quite surprised with some of the images that were coming out of how bad the view is, sort of the very far ends of the Findus, because I always wondered why we never sort of filled in the windbreakers where you can see there are holes in the side of the upper. And it's simply down to the fact that if you do, some people can't see that part of the pitch because it just blocks it off. If you're sort of right up against the edge of the upper, you can't see. So there must be so many tickets that people buy where the view is less than exemplary. I hope it doesn't put anybody off coming. The football certainly doesn't.
We actually yesterday they changed it a little bit. The town fans that were in the Osmond went in through the Imperial Turnstile with the fans in the lower, and so basically there was just a gate where you sort of walk around the side of the fan zone on the outside and went into the Osmond that way. And we were in the lower right at the Osmond end. That's where our seats are, and we were getting drenched in the first half. And they just opened the gate and let people walk through. And the Osmond I've not been in there many times over the years. I've only watched one game from in there. It's quite a quirky stand with 2 or 3 different stairwells up to the seats, and there's the bar, and then there's a separate snack bar. But it was probably the warmest stand in the ground yesterday. It was we were under shelter, and it's a low roof, and there was at the front there were the people who had bought their tickets in the Osmond, so probably people that maybe don't come that often or made a late decision, and then towards the back, there was quite a lot of people that had transferred from the lower, and we got a bit of singing going, and the acoustics, because it's a low roof, the pontoon's roof rises, doesn't it? It was a good experience in there, like you say. So why not use it when we've got seats that are exposed to the elements if we can?
Yeah, fill that baby up. Let people go in there if they want to create a riot. I like it. I mean, that's what I would like to do. But I mean, we better talk about the football because there isn't much to talk about on the Bromley side of things. 6-0, the biggest win since, where was it? Stockport, Halifax 2015. Was that right? 7-0 win. 5 goals in the first half. Well, did it all. There was the commentator on Radio Humberside said everything turned on the poor decision for the what was it? What was the problem? What did it turn on? The false.
It was the 17th minute, Alex.
That was it, and it was the red card, the pullback, which apparently was too far away. I've seen a replay of it. It looked a red card to me. I mean, the distance between the goal is irrelevant unless it's Steve Livingston, because no one's catching. What did you guys make of it?
I'd like to hear Bruce's take on it from, on that decision. It should have been a red card as far as I'm concerned.
We joked at the time. It looked like it was a long way from goal. We were in the Osman by that point. So we didn't survive very long and it looked like a sort of he was a long way from goal, and he's also it didn't look like it at the time, but I've seen a replay since, and there was no one anywhere near the 2 players. It looked like I just assumed there would be players on the cover, covering, and they just weren't. It was the replay that I've seen. Somebody's put it on Twitter this morning, and it just looks like a clear red card. And if the referee stood in the middle of the pitch with a clear view, I don't know how he hasn't come to the same verdict.
Having watched the video, I'd agree. I don't see how that's not a red, to be honest.
I couldn't believe it. Gary Croft couldn't believe it. Matt Dean couldn't believe it. John Tonda sat in front of me, couldn't believe it. Phil Norton sat in front of me, couldn't believe it. Everyone couldn't believe it. It was just, it was a crazy decision. But
you were in good company, weren't you?
Oh yeah, hanging out with
yesterday.
The big
Hey, you pulled them all in with you. Scott's on commentary, right? We're all coming.
Look at me with the clangs, with the name dropping. But yeah, it was. But amazingly, it changed the game, and from after that, it was just attack after attack. And weirdly, in a weird way, I can't remember the Dover keeper making a save. It's like every shot went in.
Apart from the penalty, obviously.
Yeah. Who was it?
Apart from the penalty. Oh yeah, was that Tom? You messaged me that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was listening to the radio. I was listening to the game while I was at the Haven't match, and it just tickled me because you said it on commentary, and I was like, "Well, yeah, he did save the penalty. To be fair, that was a fairly major incident in the game."
Yeah. I was saying it.
Scott, it was an appalling penalty, though, wasn't it?
It was terrible.
Do we need to have a discussion about who takes penalties? Because isn't that the second one he's missed now?
I say let Macca have a go. Especially, if we're anything after 4, Macca should be allowed to take it.
Before that, it's Luke Waterfall.
Yeah. Luke Waterfall is anything 2 to 3. And then it's Macca after 4. And then before that, I think Grant Taylor took an okay penalty. He got it in the edge. He got it. I mean, so who was it saying that neither of them were amazing? I thought he got it. It didn't have anything about it, but it was in the corner. And I think unless you're 9'6", you're not reaching, or Jack, you're not reaching that.
No, I thought it was a tidy penalty right in the corner, and it doesn't. If you put it right in the corner, like you say, you don't even have to make a brilliant connection with it. The chances are that it's going to go in, and sure enough, it did. But like you say, it just seemed to, like Scott said, it just seemed to galvanise the crowd. And I mean, the goal came quite quickly after that, didn't it? When was the penalty? Because that was first, wasn't it? That was before any of the. That was the first one.
I think the first goal was 26 minutes because the second one was 31. So the first penalty must have been about 20-minute mark, I think.
Yeah, so it was only 2 or 3 minutes after the red card incident then. Potential red card.
Definitely,
yeah. So it was, we got that, and then we missed the penalty. But then, like you say, it was just a very strange 20 minutes, where we scored 5 times, just over with stoppage time. But it was just weird, and I actually thought we played okay. And I mean, it's quite hard to judge the second half, isn't it? Because we'd done the job in the first half, and like Hursty said in his interview with you, that you'd like to maybe press on and be greedy, and as a fan, you're sort of hoping for maybe 7 or 8, sort of that sort of the higher sort of scores. But it must be hard for the players to keep motivated and keep pressing for more at 5-0 up. But I thought it was interesting as well that he didn't make he still had that cautious element, that he retained one of his subs till he had to take Foxy off with about 5 minutes left. He's still got one left. You'd think that 5-0 up at half time, that you might have had most of them done all of them done after the hour, perhaps. I don't know what anybody else thinks.
Was that his Daniel Parslow substitution?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's all what we've got, lads. That's all what we've got. We'll bring Koki on.
We can at least get a point out of this.
But seriously, at half time though, the weather was that bad. I thought, shit, is this game better not be in any down, because it was absolutely pissing it down. And I thought this would be typical Town. 5-0 up, and it's called off.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to bust the Wrexham players up. They could help. They could have helped, Alex.
It's a new era, Scott. We've got a nice pitch now.
That's it. Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to jump back and forth, but we have to comment on my hometown's shithousery at Wrexham, because it was bloody beautiful. For those of you who don't know, Wrexham were 2-0 up after about 4 going into the second half, and the rain down here, I was in Woking during the day, but the rain was just as bad as it was at Bromley. It didn't stop all day, and it was absolutely terrible. And Aldershot's ground, which, by the way, have a pretty decent pitch up until about 2 years ago. Chelsea looked after it because it's where their under-23s used to play. So it's not a terrible pitch in any way. It's also bloody massive. But the game was essentially called off. Wrexham were not happy, and especially from the fact that the Aldershot ground staff did bugger all to help try and get the game back on after 2-0. It was absolutely beautiful, and it resulted in some wonderful images of Towler and alike. I mean, this was one that we got off the Aldershot Facebook group. Hang on, where is it? I'm going to share my image instead of having me big screen. No one wants to see that. There you go. Of them, cleaning that don't help. Cleaning the pitch themselves, and Towler with his towels that I assume that Tozer uses for the long ball. It was absolutely bloody hilarious. It was a very funny thing.
Do you know what that says to me, Alex?
What?
Tim Pot.
Tim Pot. It does. It is very Tim Pot, isn't it? You got to appreciate it when you see a good bit of Tim Pot. I mean, that would be a useful link to moving on to Bromley, but we've got to talk about a 6-0 win, surely. I mean, it was exactly the perfect bounce back, but should nobody getting too excited? Obviously, Dover, a rock bottom of the league, obviously have a huge points deduction, but Hurst was sort of keen to press upon people who listen to the interviews that Dover haven't been bad. They've only lost the game by an odd goal or so. Where do we stand? I mean, Hurst himself said, look, he wasn't too down after Bromley, and he's trying his best not to be too sort of excited about being top of the league and also routing Dover. Where should Town fans feel at the moment? Is this result sort of skewed because it was such a poor opposition, or is it a really healthy victory?
They were. I watched them a bit. The Weymouth Dover game was on BT Sport a couple of weeks ago, and they were competitive in that game. I think it's not that common that you completely dismantle a side like that, and they have been competitive all season. I think Hurst will be Hurst. He's always fairly level-headed. I think it's a real sign of optimism, and I think the only tweet that I saw that I agreed with that you think about for the rest of the season is, we're probably only 2 or 3 attacking injuries away from being in a bit of trouble. So a little bit more depth certainly for an out-and-out striker would be nice. But yeah, I mean, when we were talking over summer and before the season, I don't think you could have asked for a better start, really, could you?
When it probably would have been nice. Like, I'd like to have, enjoyed a victory, but no,
You're,
I don't.
You're
you
banned,
can't.
Alex. You're banned. When was the last time you ever saw us won a game?
Oh, fuck. Good question. I'll have a think. I'll have a go back. Can't have been recently.
If we get if we get beaten on Saturday, there's no way we're not. I'm coming to Aldershot, but it'll be to restrain you from going to the game.
Don't worry. The slight incline up to the away end does that. Don't worry about it.
I'm going to send you looking for Adam Proudlock's ball.
It went on the railway line.
You can well, I maybe won't send you on the railway line. That'd be a bit harsh.
Oh well. I mean, I don't mind if it helps.
Just on Dover, I think the only other thing I'd want to say, having only seen the highlights, is in the NFL they do a comeback player of the season award, and I think that has to go to Luke Worsfold already, doesn't it? I mean, he's been outstanding since he's been back in the team, and like myself and this podcast, we gave him a lot of jip during the COVID season, but I think he's been absolutely fantastic. So brilliant to see, really.
Yeah, I think I've got to agree. What do you guys attribute it to? Is there anything in particular that sort of, what's the change? Is it the lower level of opposition? Is it the fact that he's got Alex Hunt putting absolute beautiful balls on his head every day of the week? What do you think it is?
It's a bit of a Rob Jones syndrome, really, isn't it? Season 1 to season 2. I don't know. It's hard to pinpoint it, really.
He's conquered the difficult second album. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, something like that.
It's confidence, isn't it? Last season he was part of a bad team, didn't get much of a pre-season. Obviously very badly organised off the pitch. They're all factors that contribute to poor preparation. Poor preparation means that you're less likely to play well, and if you're not playing well, your confidence is low. Whereas this season, he's had a full pre-season. He's working with a manager that he's worked with before, who knows what he can do, knows what his strengths are, knows what his weaknesses are. And all of that positive preparation goes into positive performances and confident players, doesn't it? And I don't think we're just seeing it with Waterfall. We're seeing it all over the pitch when you compare it to last season, especially.
I'm getting really, really worried here, lads. I think I'm into 2018, and I don't think I've seen a win yet. I'm still looking through. I mean, is it in terms of the league? I mean, nine games is when you look at the league table. I know that's official. That's when you're allowed to look at the league table. It's just coincidentally sort of fell into the fact that we are now top. We've had a good chance to play a fair few decent teams. How excited should Town fans be overall? Hurst looks silently delighted with how everything has gone. Scott, you were able to interview him yesterday. What was his general feeling before and after the interview, and how he went?
I would say with Paul Hurst, and I would always say this even in his first spell, take everything he says with a pinch of salt. A wheelbarrow full of salt, in fact. He's absolutely thrilled, but I absolutely love the fact that when I asked him, you're top of the league, how's it feel? And he was like, I couldn't care less. And he's got that wry smile, he's got the twinkle in his eye. He knows, he's not an idiot. He knows how important it is to be, you look where Southend are in the bottom 3, they're third from bottom, there's absolute disarray there. He's absolutely over the moon, but he's never going to say it. I would say even at half-time, he wouldn't have been over the moon about being 5-0. I bet he still found faults in that first half from the Town side, even though they were 5-0 up. He's always looking to improve. In his press... I spoke to Matt Dean about this yesterday, and he said on Thursday in his press preview, the Sousa probably won't play, John Lewis probably won't play, and they're both in the squad yesterday. So, you know, you can't, you don't know, you don't know what to believe half the time with him. He keeps his cards very close to his chest. I would say that, but I absolutely think he's, the best man for the job.
I think we've massively looked out in having him. It's incredible that he's here. Looked out is not the right word. The opposite, reverse it. I mean, if you've got any thoughts on it as well, please do add them to the chats. We'll put them up and we'll discuss any thoughts you've had on it, because it was pretty sensational. I'm happy to move on to the next game if everybody is as well. I mean, there's very little you can pick apart from a 6-0 win, but we can probably find some faults and have some discussions on Bromley. It was the first game that me and Henry attended together for a bloody long time. I've got to say, it was the weirdest game I've ever thought. So I've ever seen. Yeah. So, I mean,
it's
Henry,
there.
what did you think of it?
It's up there. I think it just shows that how important this good start is, in the sense that there's no real easy games. You're not going to go into many games and have the Dover effect. Like, I think that is a bit of a rarity. And Bromley, I think they were part-time on a 3G pitch on a Tuesday night, and I think lots of little factors contributed, in the sense that there was the pitch. I think the wind went against us stronger in the second half, just as we were going against it, and then the monsoon kicked in. And they just basically kicked us off the park, to be honest. Like, they did a number on Sousa. The referee didn't do anything about it. They did a number on Affetti, and he lashed out and got himself sent off. I couldn't actually see that at that point because my glasses were so just covered in rain.
I couldn't see it either.
So yeah, it was just one of those, just a combination of very bizarre things. And yeah, it's just great that we've bounced back from it, really. We can sort of already put that one to bed and put it behind us. But I think Bromley are close to going on the red list of clubs that I'll refuse to go back to, along with Stevenage and co, because the behaviour of their players and their management was absolutely shocking.
What was that? So anyone who wasn't there, their behaviour was incredible. So for those of you who have never been to Bromley, it is a shithole tin pot ground. For Tom, we were in a very open and open to the elements stand, which we never used to have. We used to be under the tiniest little bus stop of a shelter, which the hardcore Bromley element were able to huddle together underneath, all 12 of them. And it meant that we were not only soaked, but also along the side of the pitch, was because it's very much like a Fulham situation where the dugouts are the other side of the pitch, but they've put the home one next to the away fans, which I thought was completely odd. But by the looks of it, there aren't many brain cells going around the Bromley staff. And every goal was greeted with them running the opposite direction over to us with such delight. I've never seen it. And their entire bench getting up, running around in front of us. The referee didn't have a word with anybody telling them to look, cut that out, not doing that again. If you do that, you're getting booked. At every one of their goals, they came over and they celebrated in front of us like they'd won the World Cup. Now, I know it's a big day for Bromley, and I'm very much looking forward to the DVD coming out and the scoreline being printed on a mug. But my God, I've never seen anything like it. I mean, even Kevin Van Veen's celebrations in front of the Findus were less than what Bromley gave. I mean, what can you attest it to anything, Henry?
No, it was just a bit weird. It was just, especially,
and Hurst got pissed off as well.
Like the first one equalising, like, you kind of get it. The second one, again, jumping in front, fair enough. But like the third one, like, it was just weird. Like, Bromley probably going to get one of their biggest wins of the season was Tuesday night, and they didn't celebrate with their fans once. It was just bizarre. Like, I think that's the only way I can describe it, really, Alex. It was just weird. Just a weird evening.
Hurst got really annoyed with some of them, especially at full time. He was basically giving them an earful and dragging them away from the away fans, who, by the way, massive following as always, stuck to the end, my trainers, I think, are still drying out. I'm slightly worried about the cases of people going off ill the next day, but it was an odd one. The wind was underappreciated, I think, and thanks for mentioning it, Henry, because I think that was the bigger part than the rain, because it just pushed them back. There was a point in which Macca basically refused to kick it long, because I think he'd have thought it had gone back over his head again. And it's also worth mentioning the 4G pitch, absolutely ludicrous on those conditions. It was like watching the first episode of Dancing on Ice.
Yeah,
they were all over.
Like it kind of, you kind of understand it, because if you've got limited budget to look after the pitch in our division, and say that monsoon came down, like there's a real chance that it could have been abandoned.
Yeah,
so
true.
you understand the practicalities of it, but you know, I think Bromley do have a big advantage playing on that pitch and being one of the few teams that do. Ball bounced differently, it skidded away a lot quicker. Like anytime we tried to play a ball down the channel for a winger to run onto, sort of on a grass pitch, it would just hold up a little bit. But on the 4G, especially with the rain going down, it just skidded straight off. And
it was like playing football in space. There was no resistance at all, was there?
it just made it just a bit of a weird game to watch. Really, it just wasn't. I mean, like even in the first half when we were in front, we could have gone 2-0 up. I didn't really enjoy watching the football on it, to be honest. It was just a bit broken up, and I suppose that was partly how Bromley played, but it was also the pitch was a contributing factor to it. Just made a not very watchable game of football.
And it's worth mentioning as well, they did a number on Sousa. Like Sousa had the run of the right wing. Him and Afete were totally dominating down that side. Disappointed we didn't take advantage of it earlier. But they came out and that guy was sent out to do a number on him and got it done. And it's not surprising that we struggled afterwards.
No, Sousa was the biggest threat on the night. And I think that goes back to sort of the weak referee as much as anything, really, because he let him get away with absolutely everything and did nothing about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So overall, even after a 6-0 win, I'm not impressed. I don't like it. And I've worked out the last time I saw Town win was Saturday, the 21st of April, 2018, when we beat Swindon with a Mitch Rose penalty after Harry Clifton dived for it. See you all on Saturday.
We'll be fine. We got Tuesday first.
Yeah, that's true.
Massive test. If Altrincham win the games in hand, they're top, or they would be top. So I think if we get a good result on Tuesday night, that would really make me quite optimistic, because I think that's going to be a really difficult game, and I don't think we've got the best record travelling to Bromley from our first stint down here. So it'll be a really interesting
Yeah,
test.
I was just about to say, Altrincham are a bit of a bogey team for us at their place, really, aren't they? We haven't had many brilliant results there. Have we even won at their place?
I've been twice, and I think we lost both times. I can't remember us winning at Altrincham.
I think we drew once, didn't we, as well? 2-2, somebody was saying. There was the game that Macca, the goal that never was, wasn't there? The one that with the linesman saw it was over the line through about 15 players. But I can't remember us winning there in our previous spell. I don't think they were in the division the whole time we were either, were they? So we probably only went there 2-3 times, maybe.
Yeah, I think you're right, Bruce. So it's great to go into that game with all the momentum that we've got from the weekend, really. And I think after 10 games, if we've got more than sort of 20 odd points, which we're on now, if we get a point or a win on Tuesday, then that'll make me really optimistic.
I can't remember Bogle scoring at Altrincham. Paul says that he remembers seeing it. I can't remember. You said you've been, Henry. Was that then? All I remember is the ball that didn't go over the line.
The game I remember, I've been with you, Tom, once, and then the first season we were down here, I remember Lee Ridley got beaten quite badly and conceded a goal, but I can't remember the exact result of that game.
That doesn't sound like Lee Ridley.
Yeah, Bogle did score there. I remember that. I'm just seeing how many different footages I've got of Altrincham.
Bruce is currently searching the Matrix.
Well, I'm just going to pull up our fixtures as well, see what we've coming up, because Altrincham is obviously a difficult one. Woking, who put a fair few past Notts County this week as well, are going to be a difficult opposition. Though we do have a relatively good record down at Kingfield, so I'm hoping that my jinx nature will sort of leave me. But we've played most of the teams that we would have expected to be at the top end of the table, so I can't feel more positive than I currently do, really, because I think we've been brilliant. I'm just trying to look at who we've got coming up. We've got Wealdstone coming up.
When we spoke to Martin,
FA Cup in 2 weeks.
Yeah. And when we spoke to Martin Gritton, he said this league is relentless and you've just got to keep piling on points. And I think that is shown to be true, really. Like, we've had a tough start, we've played some big teams, but even sort of playing the traditional non-league teams like Altrincham and Woking, they're both on sort of decent to good form. So, you know, it's going to be difficult, and it'll be a really good test this.
Yeah, we've got a couple of. It's a real. I mean, even now, I mean, look at the games we've actually dropped points at, and not the games that you'd expect us to do so. So Hurst was right that he has concerns about sort of getting them up for a game against Woking rather than, you know, Wrexham or Stockport. We've got Altrincham and Woking away, then we've got Yeovil at home, then Harrow and Wealdstone, and then Notts County, and then Aldershot. I mean, I'm looking forward to Aldershot because I reckon not only will it be up the road, but they're a team that are in dire straits, and it's followed by quickly afterwards with Southend. So we've got a mixed running coming up, and it's going to be interesting to see exactly how we go about it.
That Aldershot game is a month away though, and they have just changed their manager, so they might be a different proposition in 4 weeks' time. To be fair,
I would be amazingly surprised, but I totally take your point.
Yeah, no, I've got a friend who's an Aldershot fan, and he texts me pretty much every Saturday to say how terrible they are at the minute. But it is always worth bearing in mind that when a new manager comes in, there's definitely going to be like a bounce at some point, isn't there? So
hopefully they'll have had the bounce and
it doesn't coincide with when we play them.
Yeah, I hope the bounce will be afterwards. Hopefully the bounce will have bounced and then the ball have gone dead. So, I mean, it's a relatively good one. We've kind of hammered through this. Who'd have thought a 6-0 win was so easy to talk about?
Nothing to whinge about, Alex. That's
I don't like it.
Contact in traditional years.
I don't like it. So, I mean, the questions we had come in. Are there any current? I mentioned on the Twitter account that it would be good to get Towler and Hunt down for another 6 months. Obviously, they're only with us till January. They've been really key to the club's success. I've been massively impressed with Towler. I think he's so composed at the back for someone who's so young. Is that a worry? I imagine Hurst is on it. I assume both Sheffield Wednesday and Bristol City will be looking at what options are available come January. But I'm desperately hoping that they stay till the end of the season because hopefully they're enjoying it.
They both look class. They look really good. I think Towler just slotted in, didn't he? Look like he never played. He never, you know, been in the team for a year. He looks so. I would say his playing style's got a bit of the Peter Handy-sider out about it. The way that he plays the game, he just sort of looks calm, and he's a really good player. And I think Alex Hunt's set pieces, and we're more prolific from them than we are from penalties, aren't we, this season statistically?
Luke Waterfall's going to be the one that's really gutted to see Alex Hunt go. If
he scored 3 headers from Hunt corners, hasn't he? And we've also had the Alex Hunt direct free kick. So I think let's just go with that. Somebody said sat next to me yesterday, an Alex Hunt corner's like a penalty.
You could make the argument Hunt is one of the best set piece takers we've ever had at any level.
Menno Willems disagrees.
I struggle to name someone better than him, other than Menno Willems, obviously.
Townsend. He was pretty good, wasn't he?
He was good, and he's scored some good direct ones. But like, just every corner from Hunt just seems to be bang on the money in a really dangerous area with a lot of zip. And how many times over the years we watched Town and the corners barely got past the first man? Like it makes, especially at our level where, you know, the centre halves, if they get on the end of their headers, can be a real threat. It makes such a massive difference.
Even in the glory days of the 90s and, you know, the early noughties, we were never the Buckley teams were never. He didn't focus on set pieces massively. We were never really good, were we? And then, you know, since then we've had the 15 years of general decline, and like you say, we've very rarely have we had a consistently good delivery from set pieces. And like you say, the amount of times that we've been moaned, you know, the hitting first man heading it clear, you'd lose track of that. But I'm going to have to go in a minute, gents, for my Carvery. But can I just finish by complimenting Jack on another excellent program? I'm loving the retro programs, and this one's really good. And I like the idea that they've put on the front of it the advertising the buses from the outlying towns and villages. I think that's really good.
I was going to leave that to the end, Bruce, because I didn't think we'd get a word in edgeways with Tom.
So I'll bow out on that note and let you chat about that later. I'll see you soon.
I'm going to have to bow out as well, Alex.
Oh.
Everybody's leaving us.
Oh, that's the end then.
Yeah. I've got a couple of things, but I'm happy to. Dan Humphrey said he was looking forward to seeing Joe Bunny facing off against Enrico Souza. It's great to see Joe Bunny come back. I thought he'd been ended sort of career-wise when he left us, but it's great to see him back in it. Paul Price says Souza's only on a 1-year deal, so I mean, that's the one thing I'm looking forward to with the current group that we've got, that I imagine those sort of things won't necessarily end up with Peterborough taking them for, you know, a friendly and 20 quid. So hopefully it'll mean that we'll be able to get him back on, because he certainly seems to be enjoying his time with us. Anybody got anything else? Tom, what have you got to add? Gents, you're more than welcome to go off if you want to. And me and Tom will mop up. Nice one. What have you got? Anything else to say on the last couple of games? Anybody got any questions? Throw them in, and we'll end it with that as well.
No, just obviously fantastic result yesterday. It's great to be top of the league. Roll on Tuesday.
Wayne Brightmore, the only thing he asked us was Scunthorpe United. I mean, we don't want to take joy in other people's, you know, problems, but it is very funny. Got rock bottom of the Football League, lost 3-0 to Newport. Managerless Newport, I guess, is the best way of describing them. Little Moz, the only subject we get to moan about nowadays is away from GGC. Fenty, Scunny and Holloway. Runaway, sorry. The beauty of those topics are that they're all behind us. The club's moving forward. It's just ace. Little Moz is saying that I can't go back to games, which is just rude. I'm going tough. Everyone else gets to have some fun. I'm doing it and all. And that was really it. We haven't got as many questions as usual, so I guess everybody's quite happy and there's nothing to talk about.
Early time slot.
Yeah, it is. That's what it is. No one's had a drink. Amazing. But thank you all so much for joining us. We'll do something, I guess, hopefully do something after Alty, and we'll have somebody on as well, giving us a bit of a league roundup after our next set of games as well, and saying who's doing well and who isn't. We've also got Danny Butterfield coming up very soon, which will be quite interesting. And Bruce keeps promising us Joey Waters as an interview. I would imagine he'll be here at some point before the year ends, and we can have a chat with him as well. But that's it. Tom, thank you very much for coming on and staying.
No props.
All right, then. Nice to see everyone, and we shall see you afterwards. Still top of the table. See you later. Bye.
Bye.
Open wide for some soccer!